Welcome to WebWings, episode 6. Alex and Andy here with you again for your weekly slice of e-commerce pie. Delicious and profitable is our game. A little bit of an apology because we didn't release an episode last week, did we, Andy?
No, our weekly podcast was not weekly.
No,
life.
real life.
Life takes over sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's school summer holidays here in the UK. We both have kids and diary management gets a little bit hectic, but we are going to hopefully make up for it with some quality content today.
Yes, content, that's what we're doing.
That's it.
So we're actually going to tackle things slightly differently this time round. Aren't you lucky? A slight deviation from our normal format, and for the first in a series of what I'm hoping doesn't actually turn into some sort of rant episode, but more of a chance for us to chat a little bit more sort of freestyle about some of the topics that can't really be distilled into an episode of their own, but we feel need putting out there regardless.
Yeah, so we're going to have some questions, fully scripted questions, totally honest about that, on a topic or two, which we'll then cover in detail and try and explain why they're the less talked about topics, the ones that people more consciously avoid, maybe for various reasons. Have a little bit of a chat about them, bring them out from the dark, and with a little bit of hope and hopefully some logic that rings true, we can make some less obvious values more visible for people.
Yeah, and this is based pretty much entirely on our own experience as opposed to topics that we've researched or anything like that. We are literally going at you with what we know from what we have done.
Yep.
So this week, I'm going to be throwing the questions in the direction of Alex, which is why it's going to be a potential rant, and we will see what we make of them. So without further ado, if Alex is ready, we'll get on with it.
You read it. I put Agadoo in there to see if he'd read it, and he did. Thank you, Andy.
I did read it. You scripted that bit, and I had to read it.
See, some of it is scripted, and wait, I'll throw it in. Sorry,
we've not scripted the comedy bit. Honestly, we are funny.
No, we couldn't.
So, what do you think is the number one mistake that both new e-commerce stores make and those with a store that's already running make?
Right, here we go. This is it.
This is it. Let's go.
And I really like this one because it's a topic that people will entirely consciously ignore, and it is very basically analytics.
Well, you should like this. You wrote the question.
I did like the question. That's the whole point of it. Scripted up to this point, and this is something that I have been discussing with myself for the past week. I've been wandering around the house ranting on about this because this was a conversation that I probably had with 3 different people last week. People who just started online presences, people who've had them running for ages, at least 3 last week, probably at least 3 the week before, and however many come on, and it's just go on.
I think that 3 last week also doesn't include the rant that we had between ourselves about one.
Probably doesn't. No, and that's the thing, because it's one of those staples. It's one of the staples, and if you were looking at any other area of business, it wouldn't even be a question. And for some reason, within e-commerce, people will think, oh, I don't want to get involved in the whole analytics thing. I've got my website, it's there. If I start to try and play around with that, that's an entirely different thing. And what I'm going to say at this point is I think that most people choose to ignore it or misunderstand it or whatever it might be because it's too closely associated with paid advertising.
Yes.
So I think people will think, well, I'm not going to bother setting up Google Analytics or Bing or looking into any of those sort of data aggregators that you can get, because I do that if I'm going to pay someone a load of money to do SEO, or I do that if I'm going to pay someone a load of money to do my AdWords, or I want to start doing some pay-per-click campaigns, or I want to start doing Facebook campaigns. Yeah. And that's a trigger for them. So that is, well, I do that when.
Yeah.
And I think that's the That's probably the thing that needs to be bashed out of people's heads with a really big stick of logic. And it's not about that. It's about understanding business, or even a business that doesn't yet exist. It's about understanding your competitors. It's about understanding the market that you're in. Because if you had a brick and mortar store, and you may still do, or if you had a business that operates in a particular sphere, industry, you would do a lot more in terms of market research and understanding of your competitors, of the market. And people will not do that in this case. They will say, well, I'm going to put it up and I know that the market exists. And that's great, but you've got a whole host of tools available to you as a person that's running a website. There are tools out there that you can simply just within minutes set up. You might not get all the data in minutes. It takes time for it to learn. And that's one of the other points. You build up the data. The data builds up. So you're saying, well, we're going to look at ads in 6 months, so I'll stick that on the to-do list then. Do the setup now. Forget about it. Do the setup. It takes a few minutes. And then when you come to look at it in 6 months, you're going to have 6 months worth of data to look at.
Yeah. And I think something that we really, really need to say in all that is this data is free.
Yes, yeah, it's free.
The number of people I talk to that don't realise that Google gives you this information free of charge.
Yeah, and there's a simple reason for that, because if you want to perhaps exploit that in a slightly aggressive way, if you want to make the most of that, then you're probably going to go and try and spend some money with them, be it ads, be it boosting stuff, be it whatever. But the very basics that you're going to get out of it. Are there any massive issues with my site that are going to be hurting me in terms of my positioning? People come to me and they say, "Oh, I'm doing really bad. I used to rank at about 3 or 4 on the first page for this, and now I'm on the 5th page." Like, oh, no problem. Should we have a look at your analytics? Oh, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know where you stand, but you don't know why. I mean, the why is the important one. Where we are number 3 because, and these are the keywords that people use to get to us, and they're there. And they're in some cases, I've had clients come to me who spend money on all the good things like content writing, some adverts on social media platforms or other platforms, forum advertising or whatever it might be, and they've got all that good stuff. And you say, okay, well, let's have a look at the search terms that have led people to those pages. Oh, we don't have that.
Yeah, but why not?
But you're paying someone to write your content for you, and you're not able to give them the tools for the job. You can't give them the information that they need.
No. But you need that information's key. And it's even if you're not paying somebody to do the job and you're just looking at it yourself and thinking, well, I don't know how people find me, that information is absolutely vital.
And available.
Yeah.
Not just vital, because there are lots of vital things that you'd have to pay for. There are lots of vital things that you can go out there and you can pay someone to put together for you, or you can buy, or whatever it might be. But this is free.
Yep.
You even get emails. You don't even have to look at it. And we'll go through the tools perhaps in a minute. To give people a little bit of a better idea. But from the first point, if you're setting up a site, if you've got a site already, if it's not tied in to the 2 basic ones, Google and Bing, it doesn't matter what they call the tools this week, they change. You type in Google Webmaster and Bing Webmaster. Those are the 2 constants that neither of them are. I think Bing might still be called Webmaster, but Google certainly isn't.
Yeah, Bing is Webmaster Tools these days, I think.
Yeah. You type in that and it will walk you through the process, and you will have more information at your fingertips. You'll get weekly emails telling you what you're doing well on, and that's just a really, really good thing to have, regardless of if you do anything with it, because there will be a point when you want to do something with it, either because you're doing really well and you want to know what you can do to do better, or because things aren't doing as well as you want them to, and you want to try and fix that. Or, as a lot of people have, well, this does really well for me, but this doesn't, and I don't understand why. Common question. This is doing really well. This brand's doing really well. This one isn't. Let's have a look. Let's see what keywords are bringing people to that page. What keywords are bringing people to that category. And it doesn't have to be me, a professional, anybody looking at it. They try and make them as simple as possible. Yes, there's a lot of information, but you, as someone who's never even looked at it before, will be able to glean something relevant out of it to at least say, okay, actually, there's a lot that can be done there. I can build that into a plan, and the plan might be 6 months down the line. I might need to pay somebody to look into that, but you as a business understand that at that point, and that is that the power that gives you to understand and influence your offerings, be it a service or a product. Even if you're just going to go and perhaps look at what you're going to be restocking for the next season, if you do seasonal goods, that can tell you. You can go back and you can look at what trends were, and you say, well, my trends change every year. Of course they do, but there are going to be some constants that you can build into that. There are going to be some things that you can get useful information out of. So get it set up as step one. And okay, so perhaps we should talk about how we'd expect people to do it.
I think
let's talk about the tool. So we've mentioned Google Analytics. That's the one. Sticking in Google Analytics, Google Analytics 4, GA, all of the various codes. You might have looked at it before. You might have other people looking at it. Most of these services will allow you to share user access. So if you have got someone, another agency or something that you might work with, or a friend who knows a little bit about what's going on, or you fancy paying a professional like me and Andy to have a look at it, you can give people access to it so they can have a look. It used to be that the more complex tools were only really available in Google. But you can now actually get quite a lot from Bing. And I would personally argue, if you are a new business or perhaps someone who doesn't really understand as much, Bing will possibly offer you more in terms of usable information than Google perhaps does at the moment, because Google's still the behemoth. And people's counter to that, when I say to them, well, all right, if you don't want to spend any real money on it, or indeed any money on it, go and do Bing rather than Google. Set yourself up on Google, but just concentrate on looking at the information in Bing, because it's presented to you in a slightly more user-friendly way. I say, well, I want to be ranking better in Google. I don't want to rank better in Bing. The point is that it will tell you the information that will allow you to get results in both. If you follow what it tells you in one, inevitably you're going to do better across the board. It's not going to be I do really, really well for this in this because of these reasons, and then you make those changes and you find that you bomb in another search engine. That would be a really, really weird circumstance. Not saying that it's impossible, but just making sure that you've got the basics set up, things like site maps. And if you're using something like a WordPress site or a WooCommerce based site, or Magento, Shopify, any of the big names, there will be a sitemap provided for you in some way in one of the tools. If we're going to get really technical, it's normally at /sitemap.xml. Go to your domain /sitemap.xml. See if you can find one if you don't want to dig about. If you really don't have one, you may need to ask someone just to set one up for you if you've got a tame developer. If it's not within your realms of comfort to play with those. And then there will be a way of sticking that into Google and Bing that are very easy as part of the setup. It will ask you for the sitemap URL. You put that in, and then it goes to your site and it starts crawling the information. That is a very, very basic suggestion of how it might work, and it's almost exactly not the technical process. But you go and you follow through what it tells you to do, and you'll be set up, and it will give you the tools. There are lots of other tools. There are lots of tools that you can spend money on.
Yes.
There are, I'm going to say, very few low quality ones. Actually, all of them are really, really very good. And the benefit for them would be that it allows you to do more with the information you're given. They'll all be working with the same data. What it will be doing is doing things with that data.
Yep. So what I'm going to do while we're on this, and because we've mentioned Bing, I've done a quick Google search in the background. And did you know that Bing works out at roughly 15% of all daily internet searches?
Yep. And
it's about 7 billion on Google a day, and around about 1 billion on Bing. Yeah.
And it's worth remembering that there are lots of people that use Bing that don't realize they're using Bing.
Yeah, I'm thinking Windows.
If you're not explicitly using Google, you might be using Bing. Yeah. And that's worth thinking about. So, yeah, people who use Windows PCs, people who search on Xboxes, people who've got Surface tablets, some people who use, if your standard browser is Edge, Internet Explorer, whatever you might be using, very likely, perhaps if you're using a PC that's provided to you by a company or an organization.
Yeah, it might be limited.
So that's always worth thinking about. Oh, everyone uses Google. Not necessarily true. And anything you do with the information that Bing gives you is going to be worthwhile. So there's some really big SEO tools out there. They'll probably label themselves as SEO tools rather than analytical tools. SEM Rush is a particularly big one. There are an awful lot in that sphere that do that kind of thing, but they will just break the information down for you. They are quite expensive because they're very good. You can get the benefit from them. If you're in a position where you want to do something with that data, and people might very well say, okay, what do we want to do with the data? We'll perhaps come on to that in a minute. But if you're in a position where you want to do something with the data, it's likely going to cost, if you've got one site, maybe £120, $150 a month, something like that, for a tool.
SEM Rush is an example, $108 a month on an annual plan.
Yes. Excellent one. I've used that extensively for many, many years, and it does really good things, particularly if you want to look at your competitors. And this is always an interesting discussion that I have with people as a developer and online marketer. Well, I know who my competitors are. Maybe. Yeah, you might do. You might not.
You might know some. You'll know the local ones.
Yeah. I do a Google search and this comes up. Okay, great. Yeah. But you do your Google search. And that's the whole point of what we're saying here. Not everyone's search is different. People will word things entirely differently. Yep. People will use different synonyms. People will use different local phrases that will get the same results. And that's part of the SEO that we would recommend that everybody gets involved in. Just because you word something your way, and we did touch on this in our last episode about business personality. Yes, we want you to word things in your way, but you also need to make sure the site's accessible to people thinking how they would think about something, because you want to target those people that aren't specifically looking for your exact wording of something. They might be looking for an exact product that you stock. Doesn't mean that your categories will necessarily have the name that they would associate with that product. Doesn't mean that how you term the different classifications of use the same, or generally the title of it might be different. So in the same way that you may not understand every possible search term to get to a product. You may not understand the competitors that people are seeing because you're not searching in the same way as they are. And that is always eye-opening. It's always, there are clients that I have had for 10, 15 years plus, and we've been tracking this data for them for that long, and occasionally a new competitor will come on. Oh, I've never heard of them. How long have they been trading? 20 years? What?
Yeah.
How all of a sudden are we competitors now?
Yeah.
There'll be reasons for that, and then you can look into it and you can understand, and you can say, actually, those trends have meant that, yeah, we're stocking the same stuff, and now people are seeing us next to each other in the search results. So, are we more attractive than them? Are they more attractive than us? So that's where those kind of tools come in, and you've got a choice. You can either look at that kind of information yourself, or of course you can perhaps look at getting a developer, a marketer, expert to do that for you. Those are the kind of things that I think generally it's worth spending the money on. And yes, I would say that because that's my day job.
Yes, but sometimes the quality is the thing. If we come up, somebody like us comes across with one point that works better for you, that's might be one point that you didn't get yourself, and at that point it could be worth thousands to you.
Yeah, quite. There's definitely the benefit there.
Yeah.
If spending money on this isn't an option for you at the moment, then Bing has some really good tools. In addition to being really simple, there's the heat maps that it can now produce. Andy, what's the name of that tool in Bing? I'll do this.
Clarity.
That's the one, Clarity. It has entirely slipped my mind. But
it is a wonderful tool. I love Clarity.
Clarity, and it can do things like replay individual customers' interactions on your site. You can watch them move through the site. You can see where they came from, what devices they were using. It's the kind of thing we've been able to see for years. But actually producing a real-time heat map for that user, and also as an overall of how people are using your site, is really useful. Because you can see where they pause. You can see where they hover over.
Yep. There's a rage click section for where something's perhaps not worked. There's dead links information. There's so much more information than it gives itself credit for, to be honest.
Yeah, and these are the kind of tools that 5 years ago I was probably paying £300-400 a month for.
Yeah, and then nowadays it's free.
And now it's free for the moment. Get on it while you can. Yeah. It might be that they just keep releasing more wonderful tools, and I hope so, because it gives it to more people, and it raises awareness of this kind of information and its use. It might be that all of a sudden it disappears behind a paywall. Grab it while you can is always well worth a mindset to have. So there's options to put money into it and get benefit back in terms of your tools. If you want to do it best practice, and obviously you need all of them, you probably need someone looking at it for you, and you probably need these tools, whether you access that through a professional who then sends it to you and reports, or whether you do it yourself and then get a professional to look at it for you. If you've got a online store with lots of products, likely to have lots of competitors, and you really do want to be expanding, increasing your sales, it's almost a must. And the amount of people that come to us and don't do that, I think is probably scary. In fact, I'll tell you what, this probably a good point to put in an example, and without going into too much detail. If we move away from products for a moment, something that we have talked about recently is the leisure industry, where we've both worked on sites within the leisure industry, and it's been quite eye-opening to site owners just what brings people to their websites. You might own a B&B in some lovely coastal town, and you might think, well, people come to my website because they like to look and see if I'm available for booking, and they want to find out what kind of rooms I've got. And those will be the people that really come to my website. And then someone like me rocks up and says, no, they don't. Actually, if you have a look, out of the 70 clicks that your little website received over the last weekend, 45 of those were people from outside the area who were looking for a bus timetable.
I've been thinking of this example all the way through after our discussion last week.
Yeah.
It can be really surprising as to what actually brings people through to your website.
Yep. And you might then think, well, that's no good. I don't want people to come on my website and look for local information. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
That's really good. You're offering a service. You'll keep people in mind, and furthermore, you are increasing the amount of genuine traffic that's coming to your site that is using it for a purpose. Okay, the purpose might not be booking a room in your B&B, but it is for an actual purpose. And if those are people that travel to the area enough that they don't know what the local bus timetables are, next time they might stop at your B&B.
Yep.
Or they might recommend it to a friend. Oh, I've got a friend going there. I'll send them this site, which has got the bus timetable. Oh, look, they've got some nice rooms. There's a site that I've helped out with in the past, and their main big hitter is local fishing lake information. It's not a fishing lake at all. It's just it's a site that's got a bit of information about things to do in the local area, and that's why those kind of pages are really useful, because an owner, business owner, a B&B owner, a hotel owner, whatever it might be, looks at those and think those are for my guests to come and have a look and see what they can do in the area. Yeah, that is most definitely true. But actually, those are really powerful tools that you can use to get more genuine traffic to your site, get more people aware of your business, and increase your online presence, your online ranking, all of the good SEO juice that brings you up to the nirvana that is the perfectly positioned at the right time when someone wants to come and find your business. Exactly. And that's where these tools really, really can add unexpected value for a lot of people, because it's I didn't realize that was a thing. The amount of times that those conversations have happened. Well, I don't. Perhaps I should remove that page. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. No. That is holding your site up. Your terrible booking form, an awful front page with a cruddy picture of one of your rooms that you probably took 15 years ago, is not what's bringing people to the site. They're booking because they've already made that decision. These pages are helping people be informed and then follow through and make those decisions.
Yeah, it's helping these people decide that actually yours is the place they want to come to.
Yeah, because you've brought them in, because you're the kind of business that supports the local area, and that's it. Remembering in these specific examples, and you can work that into however else you might want. There are so many ways that each industry can do that kind of thing. You are bigger than just your entity, and if you can make yourself part of the bigger community area, whatever it might be, in whatever way you can do that, it's a benefit for you. It is modern take on what used to be terrible black hat tactics, but actually these days is just a little bit of time and getting a real bit of benefit from it.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for being part of a community with this sort of thing as well.
Definitely. So, what do we record? What is it? Let's say you don't do anything at the moment. Where do you get yourself a baseline from? Let's try and grab this. So you've set up Google Analytics, you've set up Bing. What information are you going to go down with? Well, the first thing that you need to start to record is obviously your visitor numbers. Don't get hung up on them, because if you only get 10 visitors in a week, as long as you've got some information from that you can do with, then you can build on that. That's not necessarily a negative thing. It is a fact arguing with the fact is a terrible idea. What you should be doing is looking at what that actually gives you and then expanding on it. So those 10 people might have all clicked on one of the same 3 pages. You will find information like not only what their entry page to the site was, but also the exit page and how long they spent on the site. So when you're looking at those, the exit page is the most telling one. The entry page is really useful for finding out how well you're doing in terms of rankings, because those pages are obviously ranking for the keywords. You look back at those and you see, okay, this was an entry page for this many people, and let's say there's 5 people use that as an entry page. You can look at the key terms that they use to get to that page, and if they're all different, try and drill down and find some common ground that you can use. Or if it's all different, great. It's obviously got a nice wide-ranging scope of key terms that can bring people to there. Yeah. But concentrate on those exit pages, because that's at the point where someone thought, I'm finished now.
Yeah, I don't need to be here anymore.
Did they spend any money with you? Did they contact you? Why did they not get what they needed? Or did they get what they needed? Those are the ones. Look at the exit pages and then build on that.
Yeah. And you can compare that to your conversions at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. I had a really good chat this morning, actually, with a client who has spent some time working on a subset of their pages with me last year. We did some work last November, and one of the pages is now doing really, really well. It's one of the top ones on their site, and there's a few internal links on there. And we noticed that on one of those, it's an exit page every single time. And we went on the page, and it wasn't really related to what we were doing. It was outside of the scope of the project we were doing at the time. That is now a top exit page in all of the bad ways, because it turns out the information on that page is not as relevant as it used to be. It's not as well put together as some of the rest of the stuff on the site. It doesn't have as many nice images. It's not as well set out. There's no supporting information. And that's now given us a plan. Nice and easy. Yeah. We know that the rest of the site's doing really well for those key terms, and that is funneling people through. And the ones that are getting the least value out of it and leaving, we now know why.
Yeah. And when that page was first probably created, it would have been not an exit page. It would have been relevant information. If it's something that's out of date, I mean, if you go to, like we mentioned, the bus timetable, you go to that and actually it's out of date, people are just going to go, well, they don't really update this, I'm not bothered.
No, that's it. That's it.
The leisure industry site we were talking about earlier, the website I worked with, their last posted review on their website was from 2017. But I know they've got more. They're in Google. There's loads of them. They've got TripAdvisor ones, but the ones that they display within their own page are just not relevant anymore.
No, and those are always really good examples. It's the same with a blog, and we may have mentioned this on the podcast before. I can't remember if we have or we haven't. The amount of clients it has reduced, but there was probably a period between about 2014 and 2017 where every site wanted a blog as part of a development for an online shop. Yeah, and as part of the planning processes, why did they want one?
They didn't know, did they? They just thought, well, everybody else is doing it. I need it.
That's it. And then they didn't keep up with them. There would have been 3 posts maybe. First one would be when it went live. Hey, look at our new shop. Then there'll be oh look, this is really exciting. We're doing good stuff with our new shop. And the third one would probably have been about 4 months later, and then nothing since. Yeah. And Google looks at that and sees a dead blog, and it doesn't help you. Nope. Customers will come along, see a dead blog, and think, well, they're not doing much. Doesn't matter how many sites you trawl through these days, you can still find blogs that probably haven't been updated since 2017. The rest of the site will have been. If you're going to have a blog on your site, please use it. Yeah. Or get rid of it. But it's the same thing. It's the same with testimonials and things. If you're going to stick a date by it, make sure that those dates aren't massively in the past. Make sure you're adding to them if you can. If it's relevant and it's the kind of thing that is being updated, then you need to reflect that in that page. But
you do.
So make sure you're recording all that kind of information. The exit pages are hugely valuable, and where you will get most of the information that you can use to have a quite quick impact, like really quick impacts. Because if you've got an exit page that is bombing because of incorrect information or a dead link, or even if it just needs updating, or there's something else you can stick onto it to keep people on the site, then you can have an impact in that within half an hour. Yeah. There's no, there's no real reasons that when you're looking at exit pages, you can't find some quick wins. And, that's something right now. If you've got a site that has been up for more than a couple of weeks, you can go on, you can sign up for Google and Bing Analytics today, leave it crawling for a few days. I mean, it's Monday now. You could be having an actual impact on this by Thursday. You could have identified some problems, made some changes, and actually, if you're getting 30 people bomb out of an exit page, you could actually have a change in that by the end of the week. And I think that's something that probably needs to be shouted at a little bit more. It's almost outside of the scope of this podcast slightly, because but having the tools and the information to make those decisions, that's the number one. Don't just get hung up, because people will do. They'll look at it and say, "Oh, I only got 14 clicks today, and yesterday I only got 12." And then in a few days' time, I'm down to 9, and some days 15. That can be really disheartening. But if you look at the information contained within that, which you can get these days, it's always going to be useful. Because if people are just coming onto your front page and then going away, there's nothing there of interest to them.
No.
Sad reality, it might mean that, and that's quite often almost a reason that people won't want to have a look at the analytics. It's a little bit of head in sand, and they may have set the site up. They might have put everything into it and thought, it's really good, I've put so much effort into this, I don't want to go changing it. But that's no way to run your business. You wouldn't do that to a physical shop. You wouldn't do it if you had a market store. If people just came, looked, and walked away, you wouldn't have a business very quickly, and that's effectively what you're doing. You can't just stick your head in the sand and say, well, it is what it is. Build it and they will come. In some cases, but if you've got the tools to understand and to make the decisions in an informed way, then you're going to be in a much better position. Even if the changes you make are small, can be done quickly, even if it's just adding, dare I say, another image in Canva. Go in Canva, make yourself a little image, make it look nice, add some more links, whatever it might be. I guarantee anyone who has got a site could go on, have a look at entry and exit pages right now, and make a change that will, over the next few days, weeks, months, have a positive impact on how people use their site, because that's just it. And that's where a professional comes in. Yes, I'm not taking for business here, but that's where people who will look at your site every few days, every few weeks, every few months will be able to identify those things for you and say, let's do this and see what happens. And then come back and say, that worked and this didn't. Let's do more of the thing that worked. Let's do less of the thing that didn't.
Yep. And I think we probably need to make clear at this point, we've said all along, we don't tout for business on this. We are just here giving advice.
Yes, absolutely.
We are saying professionals can help. We are not saying use us.
We can help. No, not at all.
We can help, but that's not what we're.
That's not what we're
actually saying.
No, it's you can really get some good value out of this, and if you don't have the time to do it, at least recognize that it exists.
Yep.
And if all of a sudden you've got some money to put into it or some time to put into it, there are clear benefits that will help you in your business.
There are. I'm thinking of future options for us now to go forward with this. We could potentially YouTube video some of the sort of little guidelines, and we'll do some proper WebWings videos. We'll start moving up market.
If people are interested in that, leave a note in the comments. That doesn't exist, does it? But send us something.
No. Send us something.
Let us know you exist.
What are we talk at webwings.co.uk?
Yeah, you can send an email to that. That's fine.
So you can send us an email, you can Facebook us, whatever. We exist on all of them. We do. We are existential.
We are omnipresent.
Yeah, omnipresent. That's a good word. I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good word, isn't it? Okay, we said that this rant wouldn't turn into a rant.
We've not ranted.
It hasn't been a rant.
Well, I haven't ranted. No.
It has been. However, if you don't have it set up and you have a website, you're letting things slide. You are letting yourself down and the site down, and that sounds harsh, but I am disappointed in you because there's huge benefit there. Just do it, even if you don't look at it, because at some point you will think, might be nice to have a look at that. And is it better to, at that point, sit down and look at 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years worth of data, or sit at a little box that says, we need to process your information, and then it comes back at some point in the future. And yes, it's always useful. Doesn't matter. Start it now, because it's better than nothing.
I think the best comparison I could possibly put to this is, imagine sitting in your little bricks and mortar store, watching everybody walk up to the window, look through the window, and walk away, but not knowing why.
Exactly. If you had the chance to ask everybody why. Just why, or it's as simple as seeing what shop they're going to next. Well, 30 of them, 30 out of the 50 people went and walked into a competitor's store and made a purchase there. It'd be nice to at least know that, because if that's happening, there's something that they're seeing that they're not liking, or there's something that they're not seeing that they were expecting. Yeah. And you should know that. Or if it's just that they simply weren't in a position to buy, they were just browsing, whatever. But what can you do as a business to capture that? Could it be worth trying to get them to sign up to a newsletter so you can capture them in future? Yep. Is it worth trying to engage them on social media so they can see other things that you do, because they clicked on the site enough in the first place? That's enough of a commitment that you should be able to at least try and offer them something.
Yeah. Within my local town, there's a shop just opened. I'm sorry, I'm going to add on to this now.
No, go on.
We're ready for finishing.
Is it the chip shop?
It's not the chip shop.
Oh.
Well, there is a nice new chip shop, yes. Drive-through chip shop, one of the only ones that I know of. But anyway,
what a world we live in.
We do. Anyway, within our local town, there's a new a shop that's open. They sell candles and that sort of thing, that they're homemade. And they have only been open a couple of weeks. And the day before they opened, I was talking to a guy in the shop next door because I was in visiting something else. I came out. I was like, oh, this is new. Stood looking through the window, reading the details that were on the thing about when they were opening, etc., etc. There was a guy stood next to me having a vape and just ignoring me. And I thought, well, that's fair enough. He's just having his vape. Walked off, looked them up on Facebook a bit later. Turned out he's the shop owner and didn't even speak to somebody who was looking through his window. And as a result, I'm not that interested in going back.
No, a lost chance at engagement. And yes, I know people don't necessarily like that. And as people say, well, if I was just looking through a shop window, I wouldn't want someone to try and grab me. It'd be like trying to walk through the doors of DFS and them saying, good morning, sir, what are you looking for today? Yeah. You don't always want that, do you?
But if you're opening a small local business within a small town centre, and somebody's actually taking the time, when you're already out there as well, just a quick, we're opening tomorrow or next week or whatever. This is what we do.
Yes,
engage.
Yeah, at least give people the chance or the opportunity to engage. At least good morning. If you got any questions, I'm stood here, and that should be the same thing. We're not saying bombard people with chatbots.
No, we're not.
I think we've probably got our point across.
Yeah, I think we have. Yeah, I'm going to stop now before I start ranting as well. So I think that's that today. Hopefully that was a useful rundown of on the importance and ease of tracking sites positioning in the wild. And if you don't do it already, I think we've given you plenty of reasons and explained why Alex will be disappointed if you don't do it.
Very disappointed.
And what to concentrate on when you've got the information. Because there's no good having it and not doing anything with it.
No, but having it is better than not.
Yes, exactly. And on that note, then, we will catch you next week when we are definitely doing another one ready for next week. We've been WebWings. We hope you have a safe onward journey.
Bye-bye.